The opening scene reveals Sean going on several dates with different women, but on all of these dates, he can't find a woman with whom he feels a connection. One had to even run away in the course of their date. He gets back home to meet his grandmother Ruth, who is quite optimistic that he will soon find a perfect partner. She gives him a wedding photograph to help motivate him that he'll get married someday as well. Sean arrives at the office where he works as a programmer for a dating app and is surprised to find out that he's been blocked from using his official account for online dating, as the ladies he's been meeting with leave unpleasant remarks about him. A colleague, Tammy, walks into the office inviting everyone to an official event excluding Sean. This is an instruction from the boss, Jake. She invites him in whispers because she thinks he's a nice guy. Later that night, the Pimp and Hoe party is ongoing. Sean shows up with a few of his colleagues. His smile attracts a lady by the name of Violet, and they get talking. He invites her to dinner, which she accepts. She gives her card to him so he can call her. Saturday comes and Violet turns up at Sean's residence. Ruth welcomes her in and leaves the both of them to enjoy the dinner date while she is upstairs in her room. Violet requests to go into his room and takes off her clothes so they can get right on with business, but Sean immediately runs away, seeing that she's undressing. Violet thinks he's new at it, so she reminds him that he booked her for 3 hours at a fixed price. She realizes that he's mistaken their session for a date. Her phone buzzes, and after checking it, she informs him that she'll be leaving already. Sean offers to go with her, but she refuses. He feels she shares the same opinion as some other ladies who claim the problem isn't him, but they still can't date him. Violet gives it a thought and asks him to come with her. They get in the cab, and on the ride, she informs the curious Sean that she's an actress, and he believes her. Upon getting to the destination, Violet gets down and bids Sean farewell, but he refuses to leave because he thinks she's going in there for an audition. He offers to wait around until she's down. After she's done with her purpose of visiting, Violet comes out to find Sean still waiting for her right outside the building. He doesn't want their date to end yet, so he decides to stick around. He thinks she's popular on hearing that she still has another audition. Sean requests to know more about her, and they walk around while she shares some details about herself. A vehicle soon arrives, and Violet grabs her bag, asking him not to wait for her, but Sean wants them to keep going. So, she accepts his request and walks away. Later, Violet comes back and finds him staring oddly at the bridge. Sean reveals he has synesthesia, a condition where some of the senses in his brain get mixed, and when he looks closely at colors, he hears sounds. Someone whistles and Violet excuses herself to go meet the man. She gives him some money she got from Sean's wallet and explains he's just a guy who is being nice to her. Violet gets back and informs Sean that the guy's name is Anton. He is her manager who helps her get jobs. She gently slides his wallet back into his pocket just as he is about to sit. She informs him that she's got one more audition and soon gets on her way. After her last client for the night, the duo went to a cafe where Collins, Sean's brother, works. Collins feels quite uncomfortable with Violet, who soon takes her leave. He promises his brother that he will assist him in getting the perfect girl for him. Collins makes sure they stop at a boutique to shop for some clothes for his brother, who doesn't seem to know how to dress, and that's when Sean realizes that his credit card has been stolen. The following day is Sunday, and Ruth is surprised to see her grandson wearing a different outfit from his usual. She inquires about Violet, and Sean reveals that she hasn't been taking his calls since the previous night. She thinks of a way to encourage Sean not to lose sight of finding a special woman. So, she takes off her ring and hands it over to him for the day when he will need to wear it on the finger of that special person. After the service, Collins fixes Sean up for some dates, which eventually didn't go as he planned. Violet shows up at the bar, and Sean excuses his brother as he excitedly informs him that he asked Violet to stop by in between her auditions. Violet hands back his credit card, thinking he must have figured she stole it, but to her surprise, he reveals that he just wanted her to know what was going on with him, which was why he sent her a text about the card. She instantly claims that she must have taken the card by mistake when they were at the cafe the previous day. Collins interrupts their conversation, requesting to speak with Violet alone. He informs her that Sean is autistic. He may be high-functioning and all, but it's not easy for him as well. He subtly tells her to stay away from Sean because he doesn't want his brother to get hurt. She takes offense to his last statement and walks away. She goes back to meet Sean so they can leave already. He obliges her, and while they are working, he tells a joke hoping it'll cheer her up. Anton whistles from a distance, and Violet excuses herself to go meet him. Violet comes back to meet Sean after a few minutes. She informs him that she needs to leave as she needs to work. Sean admires her courage as an actress. He talks about the different spectrum of colors he sees in her, which he has yet to discover, and confesses that he can't wait to uncover all the beautiful things there are to her person. Violet requests for a hug, knowing that he doesn't like physical contact. After much hesitation, he wraps his arms around her in such a way that their bodies won't touch each other. Sean confesses that he will want to see her again, and they bid each other goodbyes while he watches her take her leave. He gets back to meet his brother, who is concerned about him. Collins is concerned for his brother. He knows that Sean can be too trusting, and he's scared that he might end up getting hurt because Violet's dressings and night auditions feel as though there's something she's hiding. He tries to talk his brother out of building anything with Violet, but Sean feels Collins and his grandmother are just unhappy for him now that he's finally gotten a relationship. The next time Sean meets up with Violet, he reveals all his brother's opinions about her, including his grandmother. Sean gets talking about his marriage app and the reason why he works on it. Violet gives him a bow tie for when he finally finds someone to marry. For the first time, Sean holds her hands, and almost immediately, he untangles his hand from hers. He bids her farewell with a smile, as he needs to get back to work. As she watches him leave, her eyes fall on a couple sitting on a chair not too far off. There's a longing in her heart, but her memories of the past are still fresh. She recalls how she had accompanied Anton to see a friend, and she had innocently taken a drink from one of the wine glasses. She later realized that her drink was and Anton smartly excused himself from the room. The incident turns out to be the first time Anton pimped her out to men. After everything, he had stopped her from calling the police, and he showed her pictures the guy took of them making out. He used the image to blackmail and threatened to murder her loved ones if she didn't pay him back for taking care of her and clothing her. Violet comes back to reality and allows her tears to freely run down her cheek. She turns around and walks away immediately. The next day, Sean comes to deliver mail to Ruth, and they both engage in an unpleasant discussion with Ruth, clearly stating her dislike for Violet. She tries to discourage him from visiting Violet's house, but Sean's mind is made already. He arrives at Violet's address much later, and she welcomes him in. He looks around the apartment and assists her in arranging her clothes, which are scattered on the bed, while they are chatting. He takes a look at her family portrait and begins a discussion about her dad. She reveals that her father had left them years back. He's gone, but she's glad that his brother can no longer get to her, because her uncle used to do things to her that no one believes whenever she tells them. Sean also shares his heartbreak as a child. His parents didn't do well with their relationship, and it affected him so much that he had to see a therapist, and his grandma had to take him and his brother away. While he's talking, Violet's phone begins to buzz. After she reads the messages, she informs him that Anton needs her that night. He bids her goodnight and makes his way to leave when he suddenly remembers his grandma asking for Violet's last name. He wonders why she bears the name of two colors, especially the color black. Sean smiles and walks away, as she quotes one of the things he said about colors. They meet up some other time, and Sean shows her an algorithm he made for her, which will help her get modeling jobs within the area. They soon take their seats and are conversing when Violet suggests they stop seeing each other during her work nights. Shuffling between auditions and meeting up with him at almost every interval affects her work a great deal. Violet's phone begins to buzz. She feels frustrated already, but she can't skip as Anton will find her. Sean takes her phone and turns off the GPS, because that's what Sean uses in tracking her around. He suggests they have some fun and enjoy the day since she's free from Anton's watchful eyes. On another day, Sean invites Violet to his residence for the second time, and she shows up with two of her friends, Alicia and Nadia. He informs Violet that she's already a surprise to his grandmother, as she would be coming home, thinking she'll do dinner with just him. He tries to make her understand that two other people will be a bigger surprise for his grandmother. Violet's friends look around, and just before they can reveal their real identities, Violet drags them to leave. Sean tries to stop her but realizes that she must have gotten injured on her body. She reveals that Anton lost his control because she skipped an audition. While Sean is talking about how wrong Anton's actions are, the elevator bell chimes. He quickly hides the girls before his grandmother sees them, but Ruth is already perceiving their presence. She runs into the room, where she's hearing the sounds, and she's surprised to find the ladies in there. It doesn't sound like she's pleased seeing Violet, as she subtly confronts her to reveal her real name. Violet is forced to reveal that her real name is Olivia, and Violet is just a stage name. Ruth isn't satisfied, as she further pushes for Violet to talk about her church, and she even informs her that they'd like to worship at her church. Sean comes to the rescue when he insists that Violet come to their church instead. Violet seizes the opportunity to take leave. She bids them farewell and leads the way for her friends to follow her. On Sunday morning, Sean and Ruth prepare to leave for church when his grandmother suddenly has a panic attack. She asks him to just keep telling her that everything will be okay. Sean repeats the words until she feels relieved and starts to discourage him from continuing with his relationship with Violet. He is not ready to go over all of that again, so he walks out of the house. Just outside their building, Dolus, the man who's in charge of who goes in or out, hands Ruth a package. Sean notices how they exchange the items and tries to figure out what's going on, but he drags him to the car. On the ride, Sean pleads with her to know what's in the packages she's always receiving. So, Ruth obliges and gives him the one she just received. She explains that Dolus is aware that she hasn't painted in colors ever since her husband passed away, which is why he always sends her colorful ink. He understands that the doorman must really like his grandma, but he's curious to know why she wouldn't date him. They soon arrive at church, and Sean cannot see Violet anywhere. Ruth discourages him from hoping she will come, because she believes girls like Violet like to stay away from the light. The service starts, and Violet walks in while the choir is singing. She listens to them sing Amazing Grace, and the song brings a ray of hope to her. Her phone starts buzzing, and she takes her bag to leave. Sean notices her presence, and walks over to take her to the front row where he's sitting. He is surprised that she has to work on Sundays as well. Violet admits that she loves the song, but a car is waiting out for her already. As he walks her out of the church, he asks her if she thinks he's someone she can marry, because he wants her to know that she will not have to worry about auditions if they are married. Violet explains that there's a lot that he doesn't know about her, especially her past and present life. She confesses that she has been with men, and she didn't wait for marriage, unlike his stand on intercourse before marriage. He reminds her of what the Amazing Grace song means and how it talks about new life. He goes down on his knees and proposes marriage to her. Violet is lost in mixed emotions and fears. Marriage didn't work out well for her parents, and she doesn't know all there is to know about autism. But here is Sean asking her to give them a try. She gets into the car, which zooms off, leaving the heartbroken Sean behind. He stares intently at the color on the tarred road, and soon starts seeing many colors as he reflects on the time shared with Violet. A hand taps his shoulder. He turns to see Violet right there with a smile on. She reveals that they can indeed give marriage a chance. The duo gets married without his family's knowledge. Sean brings Violet to his grandma and Collins, and he introduces her as the newest member of the family. Ruth and Collins are in shock. Ruth reveals that she did a background check, and she finds out that Violet has been arrested several times for solicitation. Collins directly asks her to confirm if she's a prostitute or not. Guilt begins to overwhelm Violet as she quickly grabs her bag and runs out. Sean attempts to go after her, but his brother gets a hold of him. Ruth suddenly begins to hyperventilate, and Collins runs over to her side while Sean tries to prove them wrong by reading the lines from her audition. But he is disappointed to find blank sheets, so he runs after her. Sean gets to find Violet being forced into a vehicle by Anton, who pushes him back and shoos him off. He runs back home crying, and his grandmother assures him that they can get the marriage annulled. At work the next day, Sean angrily takes down all the wedding photos hanging on his cubicle, hoping they will be a source of motivation for him. His boss comes and yells at him for his job, which is poorly done. Tammy soon comes over to his side, and she observes that he is not his usual self. Sean shares a brief of his relationship with Violet without mentioning names. He listens to Tammy's advice, but just like his brother said, Violet will not continue sleeping with other men if she truly loves him. Sean attends an office party later that evening, and he notices that Violet's friends are there. He angrily storms her apartment after realizing that his boss is asking after her. He confronts her and questions if she has slept with Jake. Violet yells at him and informs him that it doesn't matter, as they are over and done using each other. She reveals that she wanted a ticket out of her current life while he needs a babysitter. She's unhappy, but she needs to make him understand that there is no going back for her. She confesses that he's her escape plan and future inheritance, so he can't love her after everything that she's done. Sean notices that she still has the ring on. He confesses his feelings for her, and Violet doesn't realize when she leaves the door open for him to come in. They both have a seat and begin to reconcile their issues. She brings out a cake she made for their supposed wedding, and Sean plays a song he's wanted to play for them for a long time now. He takes her hand and informs her that he's been learning some desensitization techniques. She smiles and follows his lead for a dance. They soon end up on the bed, and Violet curls up beside Sean, still with their clothes on. The next morning, they wake up to the sound of her door unlocking. Anton walks in asking Violet to get ready to go meet a high-paying client. Sean shows himself and offers to pay any amount for Anton to let Violet go. They reach an agreement, and Anton threatens to hurt his grandma and Violet if he lets anyone into their arrangement. Sean gets back home, and he's prepared to go to work when Ruth comes in, asking if he's ready for the annulment process to begin. She's dismayed that he is insistent on being with Violet, and now he wants her to contribute a huge amount to buy Violet from her pimp. They get into an agreement as the conversation goes sour. Ruth asks him to leave already as he's getting late for work, and she angrily pulls down one of her paintings as he walks away. Sean arrives at the office to find all his stuff packed up in a box. He carries them and walks into Jake's office, and he gets informed that he has been relieved of his duties. He tries to explain to Jake who isn't budging, so he decides to spill that he's aware of how Jake brings in to his parties and threatens to involve the police. Jake agrees to let him stay and work on the new algorithm he's proposing, as well as the $10,000 advancement he's requesting. After work, Sean visits his brother at work, and Collins reveals that he almost got into trouble with his manager because he was texting Sean during work hours. He somehow manages to explain the situation to her, and his manager informs him that the beans from their coffee come from a town where the profits help keep women out of human trafficking. His manager's revelation made him realize he could be of help to someone who needs freedom. Collins hands over $2,000 to Sean as his contribution to pay off Violet's debt. For the first time, Sean hugs his surprised brother, but for Collins, it's worth his money. Sean excitedly walks into Violet's apartment to pay part of her debt. She welcomes him in, and he's surprised to see that she has been battered by Anton. He wants to call the cops, but she refuses because Anton will make her and the other girls pay for it. She reveals that Anton is making plans to move them to Portland, so this might be the last time they will be seeing each other. Sean thinks of several other escape plans, but she makes him understand that they can't escape from Anton because he's working with other criminal gangs in the city. They come up with an idea to make Anton believe they are no longer seeing each other, and almost immediately, Anton comes calling out to her. He eavesdrops on the conversation between them, and he hears them arguing and cursing each other. As Sean is about to take his leave, Anton deals him a blow which sends him to the ground. Violet tries not to bat an eye as he beats Sean recklessly before taking the cash on him and sending him out. He informs Violet that she should prepare herself for a client, which he will be sending to her room in a few minutes. She walks up and down the room thinking of what to do. Suddenly, she runs out of the house, heading straight for the roads. That evening, Ruth walks into the room to find Sean's face bleeding while Violet is sitting beside him. She thinks that Sean must be suffering from brain damage, so Ruth sends her grandson out to get some water to wash off the blood stains on his face. As soon as Sean leaves, she sits beside Violet and offers her $10,000 to leave her grandson Seattle and never come back. She makes several other offers, but Violet turns down each one as she considers her husband to be priceless. Sean returns, and his grandmother gets up to take leave when her phone starts ringing. Douglas informs her that someone by the name of Anton is here to see Violet. Seeing the looks on the faces before her, she asks Douglas to turn the visitor away. Sean requests for Violet to spend the night at their house, and Ruth agrees she will stay only for one night before heading to her room. After Ruth leaves, Violet shares how this whole thing with Anton started, and when she tried to stop, he'd always threatened to end her. She cries as she tells the story of how Anton and his gang break her while Sean comforts her. Unknown to them, Ruth is listening to their conversation from outside the room, and she's in absolute shock. The following day, while they are having breakfast and talking about the human arm of the police, Ruth walks in on them. She informs them that Anton is downstairs and tells Douglas to make him go away. She gives Violet a sheet of paper, asking her to send a text to get help from the agency for rehab or something. Ruth offers to go get her something she can change into. Violet reveals that she needs to stop by her place to pick up a few things because Anton doesn't control her anymore. She goes back to her apartment, and not long after, Anton walks in and starts making her different offers so she will come back into the business. She gets him to say many things that are enough to incriminate him, and then when he tries to strangle her, she shows him the recorder on her body. The cops enter the room and cuff him before he tries anything funny. The following Sunday, Violet stops by the church during service. At the close of the church, Sean comes to meet her arranging her clothes. He asks her to sit by him next time, as he would prefer that. Violet has given back Ruth's ring, so Sean prepares a makeshift ring and wears it on her finger till when he will be able to save up for a real ring. Ruth walks in to inform them that Violet's friends are here. She excitedly hugs Nadia and Alicia. Douglas comes carrying a box of Scottish tea and then gives Ruth a flower bouquet he got for her. Violet indicates interest in painting, and Sean suggests that his grandmother teach her. In subsequent days, Ruth begins including colors in her paintings, and she's doing well in teaching Violet how to paint beautifully. In no time, the family bonds as one, and even attends service together, including Douglas. Sean takes Violet out to a park, and while they are chatting, he informs her that they need a fresh start. He takes off the makeshift ring and goes on his knees, proposing to her once again. After she accepts, he points her to a car parked not too far off and informs her that it's for her. Violet walks towards the car, waiting to see the surprises he's talking about. The wedding ceremony of Violet and Sean soon commences with Colin standing in as his best man. Sean does the bagpipe thing he promised his grandfather in honor of their tradition, and he watches as his bride walks towards him looking radiant and beautiful. Ruth gets up to give Sean the ring after they are done saying their vows. She watches as her grandson finally seals his forever deal with his special woman. The attendees of the event cheer the couple as the groom holds his wife's face up and kisses her lips.